my life, like in a couple years, went from partying and having fun, the hedonistic lifestyle, to straight responsibility Christian walk. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought it was gonna get easier when I took things seriously, and it got much harder. Good morning. Wanted to tell you guys a story, and it starts at basically the beginning of my second go around at the Christian walk. And what I mean is I grew up in the church. My dad and my mom, they traveled and sang Southern gospel, and so did my grandparents, and my uncle still does it with his family. So I'm familiar with the church, but it was one of those things where, kind of like a PK, a preacher's kid, where you were around it your whole life, but it was never your decision. And so I lived a double life, really, and would party and whatnot, teenager stuff. And around 21, I ran into a situation where I decided that I was going to take it seriously. And that's a whole nother video, to be honest with you, so I won't go too far into that. But I remember thinking, when I decided to take it seriously, that if I was going to do it, I was going to do it. I wasn't going to be like this dip your toe in the water, half in, half out type of Christian, because that's what I was before. And it always bothered me when people said that. Like, I kind of knew where I was at. I knew that I believed in God, but I didn't follow what he said. I was very aware of that. And so you could call me hypocritical, but I would see it in other people too. And it's like they weren't aware of it. They wouldn't read their Bibles. They wouldn't go to church. They were doing things that they shouldn't be. But then they'd claim up and down that they were, doing their best to follow Christ. And so I didn't see it. Well, I decided I wasn't going to be that way. I wanted to be all in on this thing. And so I did that. I started trying really hard to do the right things and to be a better man. And that time of my life was specifically hard too, because I was getting serious with my girlfriend, and now my wife. Her name's Caitlin. She's amazing. And I also started working, like my first real job, and it was in-ground pool building, so that was really intense. Still the hardest job I've ever done. And then also we decided to have a kid shortly after that, and so my life, like in a couple years, went from partying and having fun, the hedonistic lifestyle, to straight responsibility Christian walk. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought it was gonna get easier when I took things seriously, and it got much harder. I had all these bad habits carrying over, and now I don't have the freedom to mess up, because I have to be responsible. I have to go to work, make sure that I provide, and now I got this kid, and he needs fed and clothes and all that stuff. And so, like, all of my extra time is just gone. And so I had to shape up, man. I had to get my crap together, really. And that's a lot of pressure, especially for a 21-year-old, just out the gate, not really knowing what he's doing, try to figure out life all at once, because the weight of the world's on your back now, and that's pretty heavy. And so I cleaned up my habits. I stopped doing all the things that come along with partying, and I started doing things like going to the gym, eating healthier as much as I could, reading books, listening to podcasts, talking to people, and immersing myself in the Christian culture, and all that stuff. And I've done that continuously for the past 4-5 years, 6-7 years really. And because I just turned 28, so do the math on that. So you would think that, like, my inner life would get better when my outer life did, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it didn't. The more that I cleaned my habits up, I was more effective, I was more useful for the people around me, but the more like I had this inner turmoil. I had never dealt with anger and frustration, and all of a sudden I was frustrated and angry like all the time. I never had envy problems. I was envious of others that were more successful than me. I was seriously wrestling with God, and it would actually make me upset when people would just join Christianity, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, Jesus is so good. I have all this peace and joy now. I just feel like there's no worries in the world." And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Ever since I've taken the Christian walk seriously, I've only felt more pain. It's just been more weight. So I don't get what you mean by you feel peace and joy. Like Jesus said his yoke is light, and I don't get it. Am I doing something wrong? And so like that, imagine like you try to heat up some tea, and the pressure just got worse and worse and worse, and the pain just became more and more and more. And it's all internal. Like my life is great. I have a great wife. I have a good job. I have amazing kids. I have a good church. So nothing externally was wrong, but like on the inside, I had this pain, and I didn't know what it was from. Here, check this out. Can you imagine? Just like they just poop and I have my mouth open? That would suck. Anyway, so I'm like, I wonder what the heck is going on. I'm doing literally everything that I can think of to do, and if I don't know what to do, I'm listening to people that are successful, trying to figure out what they're doing, and the pain's not going away. So like, is there something wrong with me? Am I not doing this Jesus thing right? How am I supposed to teach the Bible when I don't have the fruits? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? And it got to a point where I'd had multiple conversations like this with my wife, but it got to a point where I was in the kitchen and I was just so upset. I was really upset. And she was like, dude, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. And I just started like tearing up while she was hugging me. And God is so good. He taught me, and it wasn't audible. It wasn't like all of a sudden it popped into my head, but he taught me over the next coming days that my problem was not that I had an effort problem. It wasn't that I wasn't doing enough. It's that I had a trust problem. So instead of trusting in him, I trusted in myself. We all have like responsibilities, dreams, goals, desires, worries, anxieties, fears, and all of that stuff can be really heavy, right? It can be a lot. The weight of the world is heavy. And when you trust in somebody, you lean on them. And so they take some of that weight for you and they help you carry it. So that's why when Jesus says my yoke is light, he's helping you carry the weight when you trust in him. But I wasn't trusting in him. I was trusting in myself. And so all of that weight was on my shoulders. A lot of birds this morning. All of that weight was on my shoulders, and I was like bootstrapping it, just trying the best that I could to carry the weight. So it was like the outcome was up to me, the provision was up to me, knowing enough was up to me, being enough was up to me, my future was up to me, the future of my kids was up to me, my wife's happiness was up to me. And so like, that's a lot of pressure, man, because like you stumble once and you're done. And so I think the reason that when I cleaned up my outer life, my inner life got worse is because I had nothing to numb the weight. And the more responsibility, the more weight, right? So I was feeling all of this pain and pressure from life. And the reason that I didn't understand what Jesus meant by my yoke is light is because I wasn't trusting him with it. And the second that I moved the trust from myself, I'm the one who's going to make it happen, to Jesus, he's the one who's going to make it happen. That's when all of the weight came off. See, I didn't have an effort problem. I had a trust problem. If you want peace, it's not going to be in the striving. It's going to be in the surrender. There's a verse that says, lean not on your own understanding. And that is so true. It's freakishly true. I was leaning on my own understanding, I'm not gonna lie to you. I would read the Bible and I would believe what it said, but I would have like this whole line of thoughts that came after that. And they were pretty weighty, I'm not gonna lie. Like if it said, don't worry about the future, you could have just taken it for its own word and been like, oh yeah, Jesus said he's got it. I'm not gonna worry. I'm gonna trust in him. But what I would do is be like, yeah, that's true. And then I'd turn right around and it's like I wasn't even aware of it. I would be like, yeah, but what about this? I got financial struggles and my kid, like, what about my dreams? Am I gonna be working this dead-end job for the rest of my life? Da, 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 da. And like, it would just rattle off in my head. So my inner narrative sucked. Like, it was just awful. And since I thought that the outcome was on me, I would treat myself like a tyrant, you could say. If I woke up 5 minutes late, I'm not joking. If I woke up 5 minutes late and be like, you're never gonna reach your dreams if you keep, being lazy like this. If I didn't produce what I wanted to produce, I would be like, you're never gonna reach your dreams if you're not producing what you need to produce. If my wife or kids didn't get something that I really wanted them to have, you're never gonna be a good man if like it was all so outcome based. And the second that I moved it over to Jesus, he's the provider. I trust what he says about my future. I trust that he's made me for a purpose. I trust that he's made me unique in his eyes. I trust that he provides for my family, my kids and my wife specifically. I trust that if there's any fears and anxieties, I can cast them onto him because he's got me handled. He's the one taking care of me. And all of the weight goes away when you do that. Now, I will say, just before I left, like right before I went on this walk, I was upset. And I was like, I can't do this today. How am I gonna preach this if I'm not practicing it while I walk? And I decided, I don't know, maybe he was nudging me. It's like, no, do it when you're upset. Do it when it's the hardest. Because when it's the hardest is when you need it the most. And just because you don't perform the truth doesn't mean the truth isn't true, right? Just because I'm upset and not doing the thing that I'm telling you to do does not mean that the thing is not worth doing. The truth is not dependent on my performance. It's dependent on him. That's the whole point of this. And so to trust in him is the ball game. It's not dependent on you. It's not dependent on what you can do. It's not dependent on how smart you are. It's not dependent on if you're good enough. It's not dependent on how good you are with your finances. It's not dependent on how strong you are. It's literally all on him. And all you have to do is accept that. You cannot earn a gift. It is given to you. All you can do is accept it. And so, actually that's what believe means, is to accept. And so when you believe in God, you don't just believe he exists. You believe in him. You trust in him. Like when you say, I believe in my son, you're not saying you believe your son exists. Obviously he exists. You say you trust that he's going to do what he said he's going to do. So when you believe in God, it's the same thing. In fact, if you have confidence in Christ, confidence and confide are from the same root word. Confide means to trust in. So if you have confidence in Christ, if you believe in Christ, it means you're trusting in and accepting what he says about you. And all of the pain and the struggle, you can cast it on him. He says you can. And so peace is in the surrender. The second that you lean not on your own understanding, but instead on his, is the second that your life becomes weightless. Give it to him. I'm being serious. Give it to him. I didn't want to, right before I made this video, I wanted to give up. I wanted to be frustrated for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, because I thought that how am I supposed to say all these words when I'm not feeling them? And again, it's not on me. I'm gonna give it to him. I'm gonna be a mouthpiece. I'm gonna try to get this word out because God knows the devil doesn't want me to. Every time I've tried to make this message so many times, and every time something's gotten in the way. So I hope you hear this. I hope that these geese shut up. I hope you accept this teaching. I just want you guys to see Jesus. It's all Jesus. It's not me, it's not you, it's all Jesus. Just put your trust in him and accept him, and your life will get better.